We'd like to start out by thanking our valuable sponsors. Sense of Satisfaction by Cricket is the place for all your fragrance needs. Plus, she's got products to heal what ails your skin and your hair. Shop at sensbycricket.com. Special thanks to our valued sponsor, John Travis, a financial coach and certified Kingdom advisor with Richard Young Associates, a registered investment advisor. Thanks goes to Anna Patterson, my sister in the Lord who faithfully gives to this ministry every month. And to our newest sponsor, LaToya Gerard of Preach the Word Worldwide Network. She is a valued sponsor and a major encourager regarding this ministry. We need and would love to have you as a sponsor. Absolutely no gift is too small. Please note the info regarding giving throughout and at the end of the show, and help us spread these testimonies around the world. Please note that the views and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily the viewpoints of our sponsors. It's time to hear the story, make the connection, learn the lesson, and gain the wisdom. Are you ready? Let's get charged and be changed. The Sister Speak Brother Break Show. Conversations on grace, healing, and deliverance. This is Marcy Bush. Come on, let's journey together.
A lot of with my dad, because my mom and my dad didn't have the greatest relationship in the later years, but he could have been really misunderstood, because if everybody's getting bad news and he just, a lot of people can misread him because he already knew, and he's sworn to secrecy. I didn't know he knew.
Right.
But I kind of appreciated the fact that he was still there. He was still able to, in a sense, protect her the way she wanted to be. And I appreciate the fact that he did keep that. That it kind of is a twofold, because it still showed me that they loved each other. So I appreciate, but I think, and that's something down the line, I think some of that messed him up later on. But anyway, so I guess after we had lunch, because like I said, stuff is a blur for me. I think I've just put it so far back that, so we got in this, it was the most random fight, but it became the biggest argument. But I've learned over time, like, how we grieved. We were already grieving in a sense. And I remember I went to the stairwell, because the stairwell must have been home for us for a while. Yeah. I went to the stairwell and I was just crying. And the crazy thing is, I don't know if I was crying from the argument or I was crying because of Mama.
I think it was everything.
Yeah, it was just so much. And you had came to comfort me, and I had already made a decision, and I had made phone calls. I was leaving, and it just so happened that Kevin's mother-in-law had been stationed in Tennessee
at that time.
Yeah, for that little bit of time.
Well, I'm talking about mother-in-law to be. For
to be. Yeah,
they weren't married yet.
She was going to Tennessee to go on base up there, and I was like, I'm going with her. And anybody else, or anybody looking at me, would have been like, you are crazy. Your mom is, but I didn't think anything. I ran. I ran, and I went back to Tennessee, and I went back to a normal life. I went back to work. I went back to church, and I just indulged myself in everything. The next phone call that I got was you. It was Thanksgiving Day. I hung out. I couldn't go home because I worked retail. If I'd have went home, I could, and I was assistant manager. They had Black Friday. As a manager, I have to be there, and I couldn't go home. Again, I don't know. I was not thinking about, and let me say this. My mom had called me. I had talked to my mom. I actually talked to Mama prior to her going to the hospital when we came home the first time. I actually called her, and she sounded like a bubble was in her throat. And I asked her if she was okay. And she was like, she's fine. I said, well, Mom, I think you need to go to the hospital. She was like, I'm okay. And the reason I got off the phone was because she said, your grandma's here. Well, I know grandma gonna make sure that mama's okay. I was like, okay, all right, I'm cool with that. 4 o'clock in the morning, you called me. So fast forward, was hanging out with friends that day. Again, I wasn't in a rush to come home because mama had called again. She had came home. She was at grandma and grandpa's house. Was joking around with me. She couldn't talk that much, but was joking with me. So
that would have been that Wednesday night. Because she was only at mama's basically 24 hours almost. So it would have had to be that Wednesday if she wasn't at the hospital.
Yeah. Y'all were
and
just
she was
getting
joking.
In. Yeah, like she was having fun. She was like, I was laughing on the phone with her. And again, what I want people to understand, because I do, especially on my family and friends, to understand my story. Death was never like anybody else that probably would have been on the outside looking in would never have thought, because we never knew what was going on internally.
Right.
The only thing that my mom shared with me within that year was breast cancer. I never knew it spread. So when I'm saying things to her, she's not sharing stuff with us about the fact that it had spread. My mom had came to Tennessee. My mom gave my brother a whole birthday dinner.
Graduation dinner.
And I'm not saying, oh, she got somebody to cater. No, she cooked the whole thing and had it at her house. So, like, the things that I'm saying don't look like somebody who about to die.
And even though I was there.
Right, exactly. So, and then like I said, that conversation, it was just like, okay, we just got to do some rehab, get her back to who she is. I got home that night, me and Gabby, because I was still staying with Gabby at the time, and I think we went and changed clothes. We were going to watch a movie, and I said, well, and it might have been like, it was that evening. It was like, because it was dark outside.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, so I think I was like, hey, you want to have a little Bible study tonight? And she was like, yeah, I'm cool with that. So, we went and changed our clothes, came back, and we had grabbed our Bibles, and she was like, what you want to read? I said, I don't have nothing in particular I have on my heart, but, whatever. And so I think she found a scripture. And she started reading the scripture, and I had my phone on the floor. It was carpet, and it started vibrating. It was you. And usually if like we're reading the word together, I'll be like, I'll call them back. But I was like, this is my aunt. I was like, let me answer it real quick. She was like, okay. So I answered it, and then you were just like, your mom's ready to go. And that never registered in my head. Like, and you were like, I'm going to put the phone up to her. She can't talk to you, but just, say something. And the only thing that came out of my mouth was, Mama, I love you. And I said, if you're ready to go, you can go. It's still, but even when I said that, I don't know why I said that.
It's like it was the right thing to say.
Yeah, and what you said didn't even register to me. Like, it didn't register. So,
see, all of us, well, I won't say all of us again. I can't speak for everybody. I was caught by surprise. Yeah. I don't care how dark it got. Morning was coming.
Yeah.
I don't care what it looked like. I don't care. That gonna be all right.
Yeah.
It's gonna be enough. So but at that point, because all that day, no matter what I saw, no matter, it was like, she gonna be fine. And when I was standing by her bed praying a very bold prayer, because at this point her skin, like, she was clammy, and I remember me, my sisters, and my mom being in there together, and they were like, but we need to call, like, because she was in hospice care, we need to call. And I'm like, they're not gonna do anything, but we need to call them. And I'm like, okay. And then they gave us somebody. The hospice was like 45 minutes away. It's like in Barnwell or somewhere instead of somewhere close.
Right.
But it went from me praying this bold, you gonna do it, God. Like, I mean, that was probably one of the bold, I meant every word I said. And I said it like, I'm boldly approaching the throne of grace. You know what I'm saying? Encouraging bit. Girl, he said this, he said that, he said. And Jessica, in an instant, it was like, whew, in my spirit. And I said, y'all, she about to go. She's leaving. And my mama was like, what? I said, she's leaving. She was like, how do you know that? I said, Mama, I just know. And they were like, well, that's when we would need to call. And I'm like, we need to call the family. We need to call the family. And so that's when we started calling. So when I leave, so Kevin had left to go, Chad and your dad had left, I guess. I don't remember if Chad was with your dad or your cousins. I don't know. But then I know Kevin had left to go home. Jill was staying at Mama's and Daddy's that night. So she was in one of the rooms. I remember going to get her and coming to call you because I went in the little piano room. And I'm like, I mean, because how do you even make that call? So I didn't want to make the call, but I could not make the call.
Yeah. And the crazy thing, like, I'm gonna be honest, me talking about Bible study, that was so random. It's not something I just normally always did. Like, there may be times where Gabby would spark it, but I never would just be like, we had been out all day. Like, usually, okay, I'm tired, let me go to bed. And I had to work early the next day. So it was all God setting it up. So you told me you would call me back. And then I do
remember you talking. I don't know nothing you said because I didn't have it on speaker, but I could see her taking it in.
Yeah, and I do remember saying, I was like, I love you. If you're ready to go, you can go. I said, we'll be okay. That I do remember saying that. Again, no clue why I'm saying what I'm saying. So I think that was the only time I just prayed you would never call me again. I think I ended up going to the bathroom, and I probably was gone maybe 5 minutes, like, because my stomach had just dropped, and Gabby knocked on the door, and I was just praying, like, please just let her just be checking on me. And I said, yeah, and she was like, your aunt's on the phone, and I did not want to grab the phone, so I opened the door. And he was like, and I'll say from there, those were probably about the worst 5 years of my life. Because
how'd you get home that time?
So
because Jill was already here.
She was already here. So the guy that played it's just God. It's always just God doing God stuff. The guy that played for our church, he's from Augusta, which was so random. That's a whole nother story. His mom had came home to visit him for Thanksgiving. Well, my church, of course, found out that my mom passed. She was leaving to come back to Augusta, and so she came and dropped me off.
Okay.
So
wait a minute. Is it? Okay. Because, we were trying to get a plane thing together, but then I guess you found that out. Okay. Because we were trying to figure out how to...
Yeah, get me home.
Yes. Okay.
Funerals pretty much blur. Everything's a blur. I was just ready to get back to Tennessee. I get back to Tennessee, and... I want to say I probably went through depression for that 5 years I was there. I functioned. I functioned. I literally just went through life. It was so much guilt. There was, to this day, I don't know if it was stuff that people said or it was just words that Satan put in my head, but it was like you were the only person there. It was this picture that was created in my head of how it was.
Only one not there.
Yeah, when my mom passed. It was this picture created in my head of how, the whole entire family's just standing around her and I'm the only one not there. And my aunts, I know, like, they tried, or y'all tried. You probably were the only one, because I had already built that relationship, that even that, over time, it took time for me to be able to confide fully. But it was a lot of rough nights. And so a lot of those 5 years, like I said, I wanted nothing to do with this place. And that's what a lot of people didn't understand. A lot of family, a lot of friends, it was kind of like, I think a lot of them felt like I gave up on them. I gave up on me. I felt horrible. But at the time when everything was happening, I didn't know I was running.
Right.
And even afterwards, I didn't come home. I came home for nothing.
Right.
I didn't see my nephew for probably, I think, until he was a year old.
Really?
My first nephew. I didn't see him.
And I didn't realize that.
I didn't. And it was just too rough. And when I did finally come home, I think it was for some event, and I came home and I came to grandma's house, and I think my brother talked about it. It was just, it was like to hear Ma, it just rang so hard. I think I ended up going and just sitting in one of the rooms. I just didn't want to be, and I didn't want to be this downer, but at the same time, I was like, I don't know if you ever seen TV shows where, like, a cartoon will say something and just ring and ring and echo and echo. It was like every time somebody said Ma, it just was so rough.
Right.
And everybody was just acting like nothing happened. And yeah, it had been 5 years, but for me it was like yesterday. You know, I did not talk to my siblings. I think the only one that I really kind of let through and me and Jill were still staying in the same state. I didn't see Jill. The only one I really let talk, we didn't have a conversation, with Chad, because he just was adamant. He would call until I answered, and then he would just talk, even if he had to talk to himself. Because I didn't know it at the time. I thought he was just being that aggravating little brother. I didn't know he needed me. And looking back at it now, it was just a selfish time for me. But I was just, it was where I was okay. And so it got to a place where it just got so rough for me in Tennessee. I got really sick. Like, extremely sick. First it was during the church service. We had 2 services, and we were going into the second service, and my body just got so weak. And I at that time, I was playing keys and drums for my church and running sound, and I was over our media department, the television broadcast. I was doing all of that, and I was actually full-time working for my church. And I told some of the people that were there, I was like, I can't stay this service. I need to go home. I'm just not feeling good at all. I went home that Sunday. I did not get out of my bed until that Thursday. Gabby came by. She made sure I had food. Like 1 or 2 ladies from the church came by, made sure I was eating. The church called me because they were having this big thing for Sunday, some huge event. And they were like, hey, we're having a meeting Thursday. We need you to be there. I was like, okay. I still was not 100%. At that time, I might have been like 70%, if that. I'd say 50%. Went to the meeting, sat in the back, went home, got back in the bed. Saturday we had another meeting to prepare for Sunday. I was like, okay, so I get up Saturday, I go to the church. I'm talking to the church secretary. I'm having to make copies of papers, and just the whole room starts spinning. I feel like I'm about to pass out, and I go and sit down in our foyer area on one of the couches, and I called Gabby, and I was like, and at this time, she wasn't at our church anymore. She had got married and she had left our church. And so I called her. I was like, can you please come get me? I need to go to the emergency room. Well, ever since Mama had passed, I just did not like hospitals. I wanted no bad news about anything else. That was the last thing. So she knew that when I asked that,
right,
I need to go get her.
Right.
She goes and gets me, and she takes me to the hospital, and I think I got to the desk and like I ended up just throwing up. Threw up. It was full of infection. It was all green. It was just, yeah. And so ran to the bathroom after that. They told me, they was like, you probably now have the stomach flu. I was like, okay. So Gabby was like, well, I don't want you to go back to your place by yourself. You can come to our place. So she was giving me meds and stuff that the doctor prescribed. I would fall asleep, throw it up. She'd give it to me again, fall asleep, throw it up. She's like, okay, if you take this one and you can't keep it down, we're going back to the hospital. I fell asleep, threw it up. She took me back to the hospital. At this time, it feels like somebody's just twisting my insides. I can't sit up. My stomach is just feeling horrible. And ends up that they have to give me an IV to give me fluids. So at that time, I think I told Gabby to call you, to tell you what was going on. So after we finished, Gabby took me back to her place, and the church called and was like, just wanted to see how you were doing. I was like, I'm fine. We wanted to see if you were going to be at church tomorrow. That night, I wrote my resignation letter. I never felt so, like, I don't even know what the word is for it. Just used up.
Disregarded.
Yes. I wrote my resignation letter, and I think it might have been about a month or two after that is when I came home.
Okay.
I made a decision. I was like, it's time to go home.
Okay. So I know I'm kind of yeah, well, you know, I left my tissue somewhere, but I guess not knowing, like you said, that 5 years, so you must have been gone from what, from your mom's passing, which was 2009.
I moved back in 15.
Oh, you came in 15. Okay, that's 6. Yeah. I don't know what time you came in 15, but anyway, 5 to 6 years. But yeah, it was difficult. It was so difficult. I'll say for me, not knowing. Ever since you had moved, even before your mom's passing, just I felt like I was losing you in a sense, because the unanswered calls or unreturned calls, and I'm like, she won't let nobody reach her. And there were times when really it wasn't because anybody had said anything to me. It would be because God had shown me something, or I felt led to call you. And then in the times when you would answer or return the call, it was still just so guarded, like you had your guards up.
Then it wasn't even intentional. It was stuff that was happening there that was so unconscious. I would just spaz out on people. Gabby got a lot of the brunt of my emotions, and because of just her being the type of person that she is, and she doesn't go off of if you got a friend or something, you just go off on them, they take it personally. For her, I think she knew I was going through, even if it didn't show. And, you know, she was the one that kind of made me start seeing like my outbursts were a result of, oh, it's my mom's birthday. Oh, it's Mother's Day. Oh, you know, it would be like on those specific days. And it wasn't like I knew.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I would forget that it was my mom's birthday and realize, oh, it's the 12th. And she would be like, what's today? What's going on today? You know, and I think psychology was somewhere in her major anyway.
Gotcha.
And so she just kind of picked up on a lot of things and started, you know, and I appreciate that, because now that I'm out of certain things, it helps me to understand other people in their grieving process.
Right.
You know, even understand my siblings and their grieving process, and understanding like some of the actions that whether it be taking out on each other or not showing up or the distance, it was all of us just grieving and not understanding. And even for some of my aunts and uncles, you know, and my dad, understanding that the grieving that they was going through.
Right.
Didn't understand at the time.
Right.
You know, but Mama first passed, I know Aunt Will and Aunt Bob tried to call me, and it was okay. It was fine. And I think one time they asked me a question that was beyond what they normally ask. And it was something more towards what my mom would ask. And I said, nope, you can't get there. You can't get to that place. It would, and you know, if somebody said something like, you know, you should do this to make your mom proud. You don't know who my mom is. Don't bring my mom up. You don't know anything about her.
So everything was guarded and it was shut down.
Everybody. If you made one small move, that was it for you. You don't get that space anymore, because you don't know. And I think for my siblings, I didn't give a chance. Because to be honest...
Thanks so much for joining us today. If you've been blessed by today's show, feel free to let us know. And if you'd like to sow into this ministry, become a sponsor, or contact us, you can reach us at 803-221-0169. Or you can email us at the ssbbshow@gmail.com. Let's continue this journey together. We need and would love to have you as a sponsor. Absolutely no gift is too small. Please note the info regarding giving and help us spread these testimonies around the world.